Welcome to our channel. Let's begin the journey.
Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we're taking a really fascinating journey. We're going from the microscopic, completely invisible world of the atomic nucleus all the way up to the massive, highly advanced power plants generating the electricity that literally powers our modern world. It's honestly incredible to think about. I mean, the absolute largest, most dense sources of power we have originally stem from the very smallest building blocks of matter.
So here is our micro to macro roadmap for today. We'll be looking at 1. The power of fission. 2. Anatomy of a reactor. 3. The water reactors. And finally, 4. Advanced reactor designs.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the power of fission. To really grasp how these machines work, we have to start deep inside that atomic nucleus, which you might remember was first mapped by Ernest Rutherford way back in 1911. That is where all this incredible energy is locked away. Basically, by bombarding a heavy isotope like uranium-235 or plutonium-239 with a slow-moving neutron, the nucleus actually splits into two lighter fragments. And this split, it releases a massive quantity of heat. Just one of these microscopic fission events releases roughly 200 mega-electron volts of energy.
But here's the thing. It is not just about splitting one single atom, right? It's about starting a self-sustaining chain reaction. Because when that heavy nucleus splits, it doesn't just release heat, it also ejects 2 or 3 newly freed neutrons. Those energetic free neutrons then go on to strike neighboring nuclei, which then split and release even more neutrons, creating this incredibly carefully calculated cascade.
So a single neutron striking a uranium-235 atom creates an immediate, massive multiplying effect. With literally every split, more neutrons and more energy are released into the system. Harnessing that incredible multiplying force safely, well, that is the entire purpose of a nuclear reactor.
Moving on to Section 2, anatomy of a reactor.
Think of a reactor kind of like the organs in the human body. It relies on these vital, totally interconnected components working perfectly together to function safely. You've got your nuclear fuel rods providing the energy, a moderator to slow things down, control rods acting as the brakes, coolant to extract the heat, and of course robust shielding and containment vessels to ensure absolutely no harmful radiation escapes.
Let's look a little closer at the fuel and the moderator, because this relationship is key. See, uranium-235 cannot easily absorb fast-moving neutrons. They just zip right past or bounce off. So the reactor needs a moderator, like ordinary water or graphite. This moderator acts as a crucial buffer. It essentially slows those fast neutrons down to a thermal speed, where the probability of them actually causing another fission event goes way up.
Now on the flip side, we have control rods. These basically act as the reactor's primary brake system. They're made of really strong neutron-absorbing materials, things like cadmium or boron. When you drop these rods into the core, they instantly soak up surplus neutrons like a sponge, which slows down or can even entirely shut down the chain reaction.
All right, let's zoom out a bit. Section 3, the water reactors.
So, out in the real world, the two standard designs you'll see are the boiling water reactor, or BWR, and the pressurized water reactor, or PWR. In a BWR, it's pretty straightforward. The core heats the water until it boils directly inside the reactor vessel, and that steam goes straight to the turbine. But in a PWR, the primary coolant water is kept under immense pressure, so it doesn't boil. Instead, it transfers its heat to a secondary loop. This is a big deal because it means the steam actually turning the turbine is kept completely separate from the radioactive core. Then we have heavy water reactors, which are just incredibly clever. By using heavy water as the moderator, the neutron economy becomes amazingly efficient. Basically, very few neutrons are wasted by absorption. And because of this high efficiency, these reactors can achieve a critical chain reaction using entirely natural, unenriched uranium. That is a game changer because it completely eliminates the need for those super complex and very expensive uranium enrichment facilities.
Okay, let's push the envelope. Section 4, advanced reactor designs. First up in the advanced category are fast neutron reactors. And get this, these designs intentionally skip the moderator entirely. By using highly enriched fuel and utilizing liquid metal coolants like sodium or a lead bismuth alloy, these reactors can operate at significantly higher temperatures than water reactors. And because liquid metals don't need to be highly pressurized to stay liquid, you end up with an inherently safer, lower pressure system that boasts much higher thermal efficiency.
A great example of this is the BN600 reactor. It uses these liquid metal systems in what are called pool or loop layouts. They safely transfer extreme heat from a hot primary sodium circuit over to a secondary sodium circuit, and only then do they transfer that heat to water to generate steam. It is truly a masterful piece of thermal engineering.
Building directly on that fast neutron concept, we get breeder reactors. This is where things get really sci-fi. By taking a fast reactor core and surrounding it with a blanket of non-fissile uranium-238, the fast neutrons that escape the core are absorbed by that blanket. This absorption actually transmutes the uranium-238, essentially breeding it into brand new fissile plutonium-239. So these breeder reactors basically act as atomic fuel factories. They actually produce more nuclear fuel than they consume.
This kind of advanced technology opens up a highly diverse landscape of futuristic designs. We're talking everything from those liquid metal breeders we just discussed to massive floating nuclear power plants that can literally be moored in pairs on barges. Imagine powering remote icebreakers or running large-scale water desalination plants completely off the grid. The versatility of advanced nuclear power is just staggering.
But perhaps the biggest breakthrough concept here is the liquid core found in molten salt reactors, or MSRs. Instead of using solid fuel rods that can degrade, the nuclear fuel, whether that's uranium or thorium, is dissolved directly into a molten salt coolant. In a molten salt breeder reactor design, this setup enables what's known as the thorium-232 to uranium-233 cycle. This is amazing because abundant thorium breeds into fissile fuel right inside the liquid mix itself. And here is the absolutely crucial part. Because this liquid core operates at very high temperatures, but at a low, normal atmospheric pressure, it fundamentally eliminates the risk of a traditional pressurized vessel breaking apart or a core meltdown. If things get too hot, the liquid just safely drains into cooling tanks. It's an incredibly elegant, inherently safe design premise.
So we've scaled all the way up, from a single splitting atom in a 1911 laboratory to advanced, self-breeding industrial power plants and meltdown-proof liquid cores. The evolution of this technology over the last century is simply breathtaking. And it leaves us with a pretty massive question. With the urgent global need for clean, reliable baseload power, what will the next iteration of the atomic age ultimately look like? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.
The view from here is breathtaking. Command, we are in position and ready for the next phase. If you liked the video, subscribe and comment the topic you want next. Thanks for watching, and stay unstoppable.